Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Far From Pro podcast. I am your host, Evan Walsh, and with me is my co-host, Joseph Meyer. We are back, another edition of the Far From Pro podcast, and it is post-Super Bowl week, and the football season is officially over. It's that rough time of year where you just don't know how to act. You don't know how things are going. Now that football's done, your Sundays aren't taken up. Joseph, how are you feeling now that football season is officially over?
It's always the worst time of year, Evan, because you feel like something's missing, right? You feel like something's missing on Saturdays and Sundays. But at the end of the day, there's this little brief period, then we get March Madness, then we get NBA playoffs, and then we're right back into free agency and all that jazz. So really, the NFL runs the world. It runs the news cycle most of the year, even in the off season. Now this year, I'm excited because, I know you're not a big fan of these alternate leagues, Evan, but we've got 8 weeks till we have professional football. So with the USFL and XFL, so as far as I'm concerned, I still get to watch guys tackle each other, and that's all I really care about. But it is exciting because now our focus can kind of shift onto the NBA, which we're going to get to a little bit later. But that's when we can finally, our Sundays and the rest of the week are free to just focus in on NBA and college basketball once it gets around to kind of conference tournaments and March Madness. So it does allow us to focus in there. Let's start it off a little hot or not today. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl a little later. We're going to talk about the NBA. Let's start it off with the hot or not. I have a really hot for us, Evan. I'm not sure if you're aware of this man known as the Japanese Steph Curry. His name's Keisei Tominaga, and he plays for the Nebraska Cornhuskers basketball team. Now, I don't know if you know much about the Nebraska Cornhuskers basketball team, but they have not had much success in their history. In fact, they've never won an NCAA tournament game. And they will not this year. There's no difference. It's still a bad team. But over the last week and a half, the Japanese Stephen Curry, Keisei Tominaga, has gone berserk. Nebraska has won 3 of their last 4, much to my pleasure. They beat Penn State, a bubble team. They beat Ohio State a couple weeks ago, a bubble team. They beat, probably not anymore. They beat Wisconsin, a bubble team, and then they just beat Rutgers, who was a ranked team not but a few days ago. 3 of 4. The crowd in Nebraska loves it. You know how we love our sports out here, Evan. Not a great basketball team, but to see it win, and this man, I'm telling you, you got to check out his highlights because this man just chucks it up from anywhere on the court, and he doesn't miss. I think he's averaging like 26 over his last 4 games. He's shooting like 50% from the field, 40% from 3, and like 80% from the free throw line, so he's almost at that 50, 40, 90 mark. That's my hot. He's electrifying to watch. I might be a little biased there, but what say you?
Yeah, so first off, actually, I saw that he was on the Big Ten's most improved first team. So congratulations to him. And I've been keeping an eye on this kid all year. I had noticed that Nebraska had this little sniper guard who was playing good all year, shooting the ball really well. But the thing is, Nebraska, like you said, low-level team, not very talented, record's not the best. However, seeing that does give the light of hope for Nebraska, and they have been playing well. So I'm glad for you, Joseph. I'm glad for the state of Nebraska. They need it. I did not know about that no NCAA wins statistic, but, it's the way the wind blows sometimes. That's a great buy, Joseph. It is. It's a great buy. It's a great hot. However, I got a not for us this week, and I have to rant about this because it's frustrating me to no end. And I'm not a Chicago Bears fan of any mark, but my sell is the Chicago Bears front office. I'm going to tell you why. You traded up to get Justin Fields 2 years ago, okay? You traded up to get him, okay? You get him. Breaks the record for rushing yards. Completely and utterly, in my opinion, shows that he can be a great football player, even with the god-awful O-line you gave him, the god-awful dealing with Matt Nagy his first year and also playing behind Andy Dalton. And all in all, this Chicago Bears team and franchise has not only, yes, they draft, the only thing that they have done good for Justin Fields is draft him on draft day. Ever since then, they haven't given a goal line. They tried to sit him behind Andy Dalton his first year. And now, Well, okay. The thing is, I'm not gonna say for what Justin Fields has done, it's very impressive, and it makes him a good quarterback, in my opinion. With a team he's been on, with a new first-year OC when he finally got the reins to the offense, in my opinion, he is a good quarterback. If he got put on a great team, like obviously every quarterback would be good, but he would be MVP caliber if he got put on a team like the Eagles. If he was in Jalen Hurts' position right now, I don't know. Probably not as good as Jalen Hurts, but he still would be doing very well. And to me, for them to actually debate, for the Bears organization to debate whether or not they're going to draft a quarterback in this year's next draft is so ridiculous. It is so absurd. It is crazy. They have, out of all the things that are wrong with that team, whether it's the offensive line, whether it's the receivers, whether it's the now running backs, whether it's the entire defense, the one thing this team had this year was their quarterback in Justin Fields. And now you're going to look into maybe drafting a quarterback? What? You have so many things to worry about. The one thing you don't have to worry about is your quarterback, and that's the one thing you're thinking about drafting? To me, that is so embarrassing, and it's so stupid. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy, and maybe I'm on Justin Fields, or I'm riding his dick, maybe. I don't know. But for me, it's like, that was the only good thing you had. I know you're maybe going to draft and replace him. I don't know. To me, I'm selling the Bears. They're my not this week. If I'm Justin Fields, I'm so beyond frustrated. I'm playing my butt off, doing everything I can, and you still don't even want me? I don't know. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating, but that's my nod as Chicago Bears front office and the organization. I love you, Justin Fields. I wish you nothing but the best. Joseph, do you have another hot or not for us?
No, I think your comparison with Justin Fields and Jalen Hurts is a little bit slanderous to Jalen Hurts. I think he's deserved the right to be miles ahead of Justin Fields at this point, even though he does have a good team around him. I don't disagree with you. I think Justin Fields would do better on a good team. I don't think he's an elite level quarterback. If they're thinking Bryce Young is going to be instantly better, that's just a mistake. I actually like C.J. Stroud in this draft a lot more than Bryce Young, but regardless, yeah, I don't think they will take a quarterback. I think from my opinion, they're kind of riling up other teams to try to get higher trade offers. But I have seen some mock drafts where, they're trading C.J. Stroud to the Panthers for the number 1 pick or something, or just for the Panthers pick and then drafting Bryce Young, which I think would be kind of dumb. You don't want to take a guy that can move all over the field for. Bryce Young is a small dude, and we've seen some small guys do well lately, but still, it's not what you want to take with the number 1 pick if you already have a guy that you're pretty confident in. So I agree with you there. I don't have any knots. We can move into a little bit of a Super Bowl recap here. It was kind of a tough outing for us. We both picked the Eagles. I thought the Eagles were going to win by a pretty significant margin. The interesting thing was, for me, Evan, the game played out like I thought it would. I thought Jalen Hurts would have a spectacular performance. I thought the Eagles' offense would do amazing things. I thought they would outgain the Chiefs. I didn't think the Chiefs were going to be able to stop the Eagles. I thought Kansas City would be able to move the ball on the Eagles, but they really didn't do that great of a job of moving the ball offensively on the Eagles. It was those fluky plays, the fumble return for the touchdown, and the punt return that was 60 yards that really sold the game for the Eagles. When your team outgains them by that many yards and you're still trailing late into the fourth quarter like that, or they were trailing late in the fourth quarter, tied the game up, and got it back, but you can't be sitting there outgaining them by 200 yards as a team and be trailing in the fourth quarter. It just can't happen. Got to feel like a really big missed opportunity if you're Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, because everything went right for you offensively. Jalen Hurts had a massive performance. I mean, he's easily the MVP of the game if the Eagles win that game, answering every single doubter, every single hater. Outplayed Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Let's not forget this. He outplayed Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes didn't even pass for 200 passing yards, okay? Jalen Hurts had more passing yards and more rushing yards. So an absolutely fantastic game from Jalen Hurts. Just unfortunate they weren't able to get it done. I think they'll be back, but again, it's just you have to win in the situation that you're in. When you have the game in front of you at your fingertips. Everything has gone right for you offensively. It slips out. Again, Patrick Mahomes is a special talent. That team is incredibly well coached. Andy Reid has done a spectacular job, and I'm sure it felt great for him to beat his former team. But they got outplayed for a majority of the game. The offense did not do anything in the first half, and they were only trailing by 10. Second half, the defense still really, they stepped up, but they ended up giving up a long drive to the Eagles. You give the Eagles 35 points in that game, I say 100% the Eagles win that game. Their defense did kind of slip up. How'd you feel about the result there?
I mean, to me, I was definitely a little surprised. Like you said, I definitely thought the Eagles had this in the bag. And I thought there was something interesting about your speech here, Joseph. You were almost trying to put the blame, in my opinion, on Jalen Hurts in this offense. Saying that it wasn't as impressive as they're set out to be. The fluke fumble and the punt return meant a lot more. There's something that you didn't really touch up on too much. It's how utterly embarrassing this Eagles defense was in this Super Bowl. You led the NFL, broke the NFL sack record, led the NFL in sacks by a mile, and you don't get one sack the entire Super Bowl. Not one time did Patrick Mahomes get sacked. That's number one. Number two, your D-backs, your stud D-backs, Bradbury and Slay, were awful. Awful. Terrible. Not good in any way. I don't know if you noticed, Joseph. The Chiefs team scored on the same play twice. They just reversed it. That's all they did. They just reversed the play. They flipped it. And it worked. Easily. Wide open. This Eagles defense was completely... No one expected the Chiefs defense to go out and stop the Eagles offense. No one did. Everyone genuinely believed the Eagles were going to win this game because they were dominant on two sides, their offense and their defense. And everyone believed that if you are dominant on both those sides, it's a win. It's an easy win. And they were on offense. They scored 35 points. That's a lot of points in the Super Bowl. It's a lot. 35 points. They did completely fine. Jalen Hurts cemented himself as this franchise quarterback. Not only was he amazing on the field, he was great off the field, had a great class, took that loss, had an amazing press conference. This guy is amazing. Jalen Hurts is not the problem. Nick Sirianni was a little bit of a cringe ball, whether it was crying at the national anthem, whether it was putting up the one and having your quarterback pull your hand down for you, which in my opinion is just so childish and just makes you so much of a cringe ball, and it's not a good look. And to be quite frank, I think everyone in the NFL would hate Nick Sirianni if he wasn't coaching in the Super Bowl and didn't have such a great year. Thank God he's winning. He can get away with this shit, but I'm not going to get into that right now. What I'm going to get into is this Eagles defense. Terrible. Hassan Reddick was nowhere to be found. I cannot stress enough about how important this Eagles defense was. No one believed the Chiefs defense was going to stop Philadelphia. Everyone knew that the Philadelphia's offense was going to do good, and everyone knew that if the Chiefs were going to win, they were going to outscore the Eagles by putting up a ton of points, which they did. And even in the first half, there wasn't even a time where I was like, okay, the Chiefs are going to dominate the Eagles. It was literally just the Eagles defense keeping this Chiefs team in the game by not stopping them. And yes, I do agree that Jalen Hurts fumble effed him up a lot, definitely put him in a terrible spot. And yes, there was little things on special teams that did not help the Eagles. But all in all, this defense was a complete embarrassment. They did not show up. They completely screwed over the Eagles, and that's what needs to be talked about here. Yeah, and to me, it's like I understand the frustration with Sirianni and them not winning. It was 110% the Eagles defense that lost in this game, and it's what won them and what got them there in the first place. They needed them to perform in order to stop the Chiefs, and they didn't. So that's how I feel about the game. Congratulations to the Chiefs. I'm sorry for the Eagles, but that's just how I feel about it. And I don't know. That's how I feel.
I mean, you're right. You're right. The defense sold. But if I told you that Jalen Hurts was going to have 304 passing yards, 70 rush yards, and 4 total touchdowns, and Mahomes was going to throw for 182 yards, I mean, come on. It's an easy pick. I think my problem was the bowing down to Patrick Mahomes as if that wasn't a full team win by the Chiefs. I mean, literally every single player on that team stepped up. This was not like the Buccaneers Super Bowl where Patrick Mahomes just carries nothing on his back and can't do anything. This was a full team effort. You said the Eagles didn't get any sacks. Why do you think? Because the Chiefs' offensive line stepped up big time. Their special teams was incredible other than the missed kick. The defense, a fumble recovery for a touchdown. The point swings here, if the punt return and the fumble don't happen, the Eagles win this game easily, in my opinion. That's where the frustrating thing for me comes. Like, obviously he's going to win the MVP. Obviously he's an incredible player. He might be the greatest talent we've ever seen. In my opinion, he is all, and we'll talk about this in a second. I want to get into this. He is already a top 3 quarterback of all time. But still, it was a full team win. Excellent coaching, excellent time management at the end, excellent thought process from a lot of these guys. Some help from the referees. Not saying it wasn't warranted. We'll get to that too. It was a very complete performance. This wasn't Patrick Mahomes pulling his team out of the dirt. Their whole team played kind of bad in the first half, and they got lucky. Patrick Mahomes did not play good in the first half. Let's get that completely straight. He did not play good in the first half. Second half, he stepped it up. The whole team stepped it up. The running game played well. The special teams played well. The defense played great in certain circumstances. If they don't stop Jalen Hurts one of those times in the fourth quarter or third quarter, Eagles win this game. So it was a full team performance. Patrick Mahomes did not throw for 400 passing yards and 5 touchdowns like I would think they would need to win this game if I saw what Jalen Hurts had done beforehand. Let's get to the penalty. Right call. You cannot, absolutely no call. You cannot make that call. I don't care, even if from a business perspective, if you're the NFL, what are people talking about after this game? Your referees. Even if you miss the call, you would rather have people talk about this great finish where either the Eagles went down and marched down and won, or the Chiefs defense stepped up and stopped them, rather than talking about a situation where we're just kind of, oh yeah, we're sitting here waiting for the Super Bowl to end. That frustrated me so much, and I was almost just like, you don't want to win that way either. If you're the Chiefs, you do not want, there's a little asterisk, regardless of how well the game, it's a Super Bowl. You cannot discount that. There's still going to be that little asterisk of, it was kind of a lame finish. The last 4 minutes were, like, they just sucked. And nobody wants to do that. You don't want to win like that, and you definitely don't want to lose like that. I thought I gave respect to the Eagles for kind of taking it upon themselves and not blaming it on the refs. Major respect to that. That shows leadership. I know you hate Sirianni. That shows me that team is all together. There was no Cincinnati Bengals blaming their teammate for the penalty, right? We didn't see any of that. There was no blaming Bradbury for what had happened. It was kind of just like, do you call that penalty in that spot when that kind of happens on every play? I hate holding anyway. It happens on every single play. What are you supposed to do? Just let them run past you? You got to get physical. It's a physical game. Frustrated with the penalty, frustrated with the finish. If that penalty doesn't get thrown, we could possibly get the best Super Bowl of all time. And from the NFL's business perspective, that's the play they have to make, and that has to be the message that they tell the referees. Make the smart play. Make the smart call, not always the right one. And I know that's controversial. You have to make the smart play for the business, for the league, for the entertainment value, and for the teams, where we're getting yes, that might be a ticky-tacky call, but on the final play of the most meaningful game in your NFL history, it could be the greatest game in NFL history. If the Eagles go down and march down and win that game, that's the greatest game in NFL history, and I don't care. All I'm saying is, frustrating finish for a great Super Bowl. Enjoyed it. What'd you think of the foul or the flag?
You could not be more spot on. Right call. It was a penalty. You can't make the call. When it's in that time, in that game, with these teams in that moment in time, when it's a toss-up call like that, where it's like, it could go both ways, you don't make the call. Because like you just said, it gives up so much. There could have been a potential overtime. Imagine if that game went into overtime in the Super Bowl with these two teams. It would have been the greatest thing ever. It would have been amazing. Like you said, viewership of the NFL.
Gosh.
But again, you can't make that call in that moment in that time. It was the right call. It was a penalty, but in my opinion, just like you said, you can't make that call. You got to let the decision. It's such a bad way to win the Super Bowl. And by the way, something we need to maybe talk about is the fact that Roger Goodell, the fact that he said before the game that this is the best officiating the game's ever had. That statement is like the grossest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. It literally makes you want to throw up. Oh. The fact that he even had the balls to say that is fucking crazy. It's crazy that he had the balls to say that. So the call itself, again, I understand why they made it. You just can't. You have to be aware of the situation and realize you just cannot throw that flag. That is a bad time to make it. You gave up way too much on the plate. But besides the call, the only other thing, and obviously the Kelce brothers, I'm not going to get into Donna Kelce because I will go on and do a fucking 45-minute rant about her and about what she's doing and about this whole Kelce Bowl nonsense. I'm happy for them both. Congrats. Sweet to be in the Super Bowl. Your kids made it. You know what it is? Oh, Joseph, I'm about to do it, aren't I? I'm trying not to make the show go long, but I'm about to do it. I'm just going to say it. This whole Donna Kelce and Kelce bullshit is just so fucking stupid. And if we didn't have social media and these Kelce brothers weren't doing the New Heights Bowl in their podcast, no one would care. Who the hell cares if they're brothers or not? That's dope. They're going to play it, but who cares? There was a certain amount of time where I would go on my phone and I genuinely forgot it was a Super Bowl and I thought it was legitimately the Kelce Bowl. And then on every single platform, whether it's a podcast, news station, I happen to see Donna Kelce doing a fucking press tour. You're not dropping an album. You're not releasing a movie. Your kids did something. So imagine this, Joseph. Imagine you are a type of person where you have kids. You have no idea what they're going to turn out to be. These kids worked their ass off, grind their whole life. Travis was kicked off his college football team. His brother wasn't recruited. He had to convince his college coach just to keep his little brother to keep playing football. Neither of them were drafted in the first round. These guys were doubted their whole life. Now they're in the top level, top players of all time in their respective position. And they're one of the key, crucial parts of their team for this Sunday. And their fucking mom has the audacity to be such a loser and not accomplish anything herself that she says, I'm going to use all the publicity as my children. I'm going to wear the double jean jacket. She posted an ad on her Instagram. You know the Kind bars, the ad Kind? She had an ad for them, Joseph. Like she's a fucking super athlete. Like people are going on the Donna Kelce. You are really doing an ad trying to make money right now. Your kids make $15, $20 million a year each, and you're trying to make money off a Kind bar ad. What a joke. What a depressing person. You know what? This is why you and your husband had to work 2 or 3 jobs to afford your kids, because you're a loser. You don't know how to make money. You don't know how to get things done. You don't know how to be self-sufficient. So you're still profiting off your kids. It's a joke. Oh, it's embarrassing. God. And the fact that we're all just whoop-de-dee-doo celebrating her Kelce Bowl, giving her interviews, taking her pictures. Every single thing on the NFL Instagram after the Super Bowl was her trying to find her kids. I don't give a fuck. No one else does either. The game's over. Who cares? Take a picture of the MVP quarterback. Take a picture of the coach. Take a picture of anything else. We don't care. And it's this whole thing of this lovey-dovey, trying to be friendly bullshit. I'm not for it. And I'm not falling for it. I'm not doing it. So you know what? I'm sorry. I don't usually get this wound up on the podcast. And I know we don't have that much time. But it just, this whole week, it just literally infuriated me to see it day in, day out. This is the shit that we worry about in our society. There are people who are about to go put their lives on the line, bashing into each other on the biggest sports event in the entire year. 100 million people are going to watch this event. And we're talking about some random ass mom from Cleveland Heights, Ohio. I don't know, dude. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm overreacting and being a dickhead. I probably am. But you know what? I'm going to say it. I'm going to put it out there anyways. Let's just fucking fuck the Super Bowl. Forget this game. Football's over with. There's no more football. So now we're at a point now we don't have football. And it's depressing. I'm at a point where I'm realizing that, Joseph. I'm at a point where I realize we don't have football anymore. There's no more regular season. There's no more waking up on Sunday butt naked in your bed, whether you're hungover, whether it's a brutal night, to just be able to sit and be a degenerate for 9 hours and watch this game. It's gone now. It's gone. So now we have to be good people. We have to spend time with our families. We have to go out in the sun. We have to do the shit that nobody wants to do. And it's just the truth of the matter. So you know what? You know what, Joseph? This is what this Wednesday has come to. This is what we're doing now. This is what it all is about. So you know what? That's that. That's that, Joseph. That's that.
I love it. I love it. Would you listen to the Rihanna album or maybe the Kelce album? Donna Kelce? She's going on. Seems like she's going on tour. So.
It sure seems like it, Joseph. It sure seems like she's got something to advertise. You would think this lady is in a blockbuster film. You would think that she's selling out box offices right now. You would think that Donna Kelce found the cure for cancer by the amount of goddamn publicity and the amount of shit she's getting. And what has she done, Joseph? Tell me. All right, Joseph. Enough of my rant. Enough about the Super Bowl. Great game. Football's over. Now we got to move into a little basketball. We have to move into a little basketball. Yeah. My sport, my time of year. March is coming. March Madness is coming, Joseph. It's right around the corner. Before we get into all that, though, let's just talk about All-Star break to end the pod. Just get off of football. Get off of Donna Kelce before I blow a head gasket. Let's talk a little NBA basketball. Did you see the lineup for this year's NBA dunk contest?
I'm going to assume it's not great.
You want me to read you the biggest names?
Is Matt McClung in it?
Just you want me just to give you a list?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Matt McClung is in it, okay? He is in it. Not a current NBA player, currently a G League player.
That's wild to me. I don't
get that straight.
That's wild.
All right. Yeah, that is a whole nother thing that we need to get into. Is like, well, we'll talk about another day. Is how the fact that these two leagues, it's not an NBA player. But regardless, not going to get into it. Listen to this lineup, okay? KJ Martin is one. Number two. You know what? I'd be surprised if you can name what team this guy's on. Jericho Sims. You know what team that guy plays for, Joseph? No? Okay. How about Trey Murphy III? And then, what the hell are we doing? Like, what are we doing? There's people like Ja Morant, Zion Williamson. Like, dear God. Legitimate freak athletes who can jump outside of the gym. And this is who's in the dunk contest. This is it.
We've got the NBA All-Star coming up, but there's been a lot of action at the trade deadline. So I want to ask you a little question here. Which trade do you like better? The Kyrie to the Mavs trade or the KD to the Suns trade? Both big-name guys coming from the same team, going to possible contenders. Which trade do you like better? You gotta consider what they gave up, who they got, what kind of team they have built around them. Which one do you like better?
100% the KD to the Suns trade. I think KD's already proven that he can play on a superstar, full-loaded team, which he did with the Warriors, and win championships. So I don't think there's any debate there if that's going to work out. I think KD will find a way to work out. I think him with Chris Paul and Devin Booker. And not only the fact of having DeAndre Ayton, too, I think them being able to keep all four of those guys is crazy. And I think it's going to work very well together. I think D-Book and KD are going to take over most of the scoring. Ayton's going to play his defense, his paint defense, rebound, and do what he needs to do, plays post defense. He's going to play his role. He doesn't need to worry about scoring as much, which is what he loves because he's getting paid $130 million to do nothing. And Chris Paul just needs to facilitate. He needs to come down, bring the ball up the floor, make sure the offense is flowing, and get KD and Devin Booker the ball, which isn't going to be that hard. Kyrie to the Mavs is an interesting trade to me. I was actually very surprised that Mark Cuban would go through with this because I feel like for him, he wanted to sort of keep Luka as the main scorer and star. Now, whether or not Kyrie does that, Kyrie's in his last year of his contract. He knows he needs to get signed and make more money for next year. So who knows, maybe he'll just bring it all together and play well with Luka all year. To me, Luka's a very ball-dominant player who needs the ball in his hands at all times. And so does Kyrie Irving to score. So for me, you're kind of asking Luka in the middle of the season to say, hey, you need to go from taking all the shots to taking half the shots. And whether or not that works out, whether or not that takes a long-distance toll on the relationship with the Mavericks and Luka, whether it takes a toll on the relationship with Luka and Kyrie, I don't know. To me, you're a lot more secure with KD going to the Suns. Kyrie going to the Mavs is a big toss-up. We don't know how it's going to turn out. We don't know how Kyrie's going to play with Luka. We don't know how they're going to facilitate together. To me, you're much more secured and a lot less shot in the dark with KD to the Suns. How about you? What do you think, Joseph?
I would agree, except that if the Suns don't win a finals while KD's there, it's going to be a massive failure. And we thought that Kyrie and KD and James Harden and everyone else was going to work out, and that didn't do anything. So the Suns have been to the finals as of late, so I'm not super worried. Adding KD should help them out there. But still, you got to win a finals. Mavs, I like that trade, except we saw it against the Timberwolves. I don't know if you watched this game where neither of them took the last shot because they kept trading it back and forth, so that can't happen anymore. Otherwise, you're going to keep losing to the teams like the Timberwolves, who, by the way, are, out of trading everything away. I mean, wow. That team's completely different than it was last year. We'll see if it works out. But a lot of teams making a lot of trades in the West, Evan, to try to catch up with a certain team named the Denver Nuggets, who didn't really need to make any big-time trades because everyone's chasing them, and they will be 3-time MVP. It is going to be a dogfight in the West. I think the East is a whole heck of a lot easier, although it seems like, again, it's Giannis, the Celtics. That's going to be only one of those teams is going to make the finals, but...
Ha!
What?
You said it, not me, Joseph. I think we both know who I'm talking to, who I'm talking about. When you talk about one of the better basketball teams maybe ever created, you talk about the 2022-2023 Denver Nuggets. And to me, no, there isn't a dogfight in the West. There isn't. I see every West team trying to put up their best dog to fight. We all try, Joseph. We all make attempts at things, but it's just not going to happen. So I take a little disrespect to what you said. I'm just saying here, Evan. But we'll let it slide. There is going to be a dogfight in the East. The East is wide open. You got the Bucks, the Celtics.
I'm just saying here that the path to the finals in the West is going to be harder. I'm not saying for any team, the path is harder. Now, maybe not for the Nuggets, but for any other team to have to go through now, the KD Suns, the Luka and Kyrie Mavs already have to go through the Warriors and the Nuggets, saying the path is a little bit easier in the East. That's just my personal opinion. Not saying that the Nuggets won't get there. I'm on your page. I think they're still going to get to the finals.
100%. I think the NBA right now is loaded. I just look around the talent, and they're starting to spread around the talent. Whether it's East, whether it's West, now with the Cavs dominating in the East, not a lot of people give Miami Heat the credit they deserve. I really don't think they do. I think the Miami Heat are a very good basketball team too. I think the East and the West is getting so good. I think there's so much talent around the NBA right now that I think this past trade deadline was fun. And this NBA All-Star Game is going to be fun coming up. We are going to have a fun NBA rest of the year. We're going to keep going with the March Madness. We're going to be able to talk NBA Finals. It seems like I'm trying to shut the show down, but I kind of am because I don't want to take these podcasts too long. I want to devote a lot of this time to the Super Bowl too because it's the end of football season. We need to give football the respect they deserve. So, Joseph, let's sort of wrap up the talk here. I'm excited for All-Star Weekend. I'm excited for the rest of basketball season. And that's basically all I got. I mean, I'm at the point now where I'm just excited, and I want to keep watching. I want to dedicate more of my time to basketball to get more of my research in, and then come back for next week's show, and we'll have all basketball. We'll discuss all basketball. That's all we'll be talking about because that's all we got to talk about. Talk a little PGA, of course. That's my category. And Joseph, what do you think? Do you think that sounds good?
Yeah, it's coming up on a year now, Evan, since the Far From Pro podcast began, and you know how much success we had at the beginning with that NBA talk, so I'm excited. March Madness talk, all of it. Super excited. I think that's kind of seems like that's our niche with this pod. That's done the best, but excited to get started into that. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week. Peace!